He totally f***ed us. Genuinely insane. What is their plan B? Kamala Harris. Genuinely insane. No wonder nobody else is coming to Biden's defense now that he's in the public eye. A bunch of the people who might have otherwise spoken publicly are probably in the damn book that's coming out. Original Sin. President Biden's decline, its cover-up, and his disastrous choice to run again. Damn, that's a title. They're not pulling punches. They're definitely not pulling punches. I don't get it. Who buys these books? I never understood the market for books. Literate people buy books and read books. It's a way of having information communicated to you. You know how sometimes I read articles on stream? A book is like that, but longer. Vosh pretending he reads. I said literate people. I didn't include myself. DNC subcommittee recommends redoing vice chair elections. Yeah, looks like it. They're so upset with David Hogg trying to primary useless members of Congress that they're looking to redo the vice chair elections and replace him, which is, you know, that's how you instill trust in a neutral Democratic Party. When you don't like the outcome of an election for your administration, you redo it. The DNC's Credentials Subcommittee has recommended that the party should once again hold vice chair elections over complaints there were issues with how the balloting was conducted. And you're never going to guess, folks, the excuse that they're using for why the election should be redone for the vice chair, oh, it's not because they don't like David Hogg. It's because of, like, wokeness or something. There's some women who are saying that, like, the results of the election weren't woke enough. Like, it was supposed to be a woman or something. I don't really care. The results are what the results are. Wade Hogg is the one pushing to primary useless incumbents. Yeah, I don't really trust him that much, but like the fact that the DNC is reacting this way to what is essentially a push to do, like, get the do-nothings and nobody's out of the way, you know, feels pretty dead.
The DNC vice chair, and that message that he has, as Avery mentioned, out with the old, in with the new. That is what DNC Vice Chair David Hogg is saying. His group, Leaders We Deserve, is planning to spend $20 million to boost young primary challengers against Democratic incumbents. This as Dems try to find their way a little bit out of the woods after that 2024 defeat. But are these new fresh faces the answer? Well, DNC Vice Chair David Hogg joins me now to talk about all of that. Welcome in, David. Always good to have you.
You know, it kind of freakish, but David Hogg looks a little bit like Charlie Kirk to me. There is like a phrenological similarity there that I find a little disquieting. Maybe that's why I don't trust him.
Well, I guess I want to ask, how are you making the choice of who to endorse? Is age the only factor here? And also, how are you making the choice of who to challenge in a primary?
Absolutely. Well, look, I think the first most important thing here is to understand it isn't necessarily just out with the old and in with the new. I would say it's out with the ineffective and in with the effective. That is what we are doing here. Far too many people in our party, our approvals are awful right now. Any person that has eyes can see that. We are 27% approval with our base, and we need dramatic change. I've talked to thousands of people around the country that are demanding that.
It genuinely, the fact that this is even a discussion, like the fact that there's any debate at all over the idea that there should be standards for being a part of the Democratic Party, and that if you're ineffective, you should be replaced with people who are effective, when the country's being torn apart like in an unprecedented fashion by a fascist administration, and when the party is experiencing record low approval ratings, the fact that this is controversial is unbelievable. And keep in mind, it's only controversial within the ranks of the Democratic Party. I guarantee you the average Democratic voter right now, if posed the question, hey, do you think we should primary useless safe seat Democrats who won't stand up to Trump with people who will? They would say yes. I can't imagine the average Democratic voter would disagree with that prospect. It's just that this entire fucking party is a Make-A-Wish Foundation project to the elderly. It's a program to reward them for longevity and for loyalty. A lot of these people, a lot of the elected officials within the Democratic Party legitimately just think of their job as like a rote bureaucratic middleman position where they exist to maintain the status quo and do nothing else. And they are being blindsided right now by the realization that they actually have to do politics and that a lot of lives are on the line. Like, this didn't even occur to them. It hasn't occurred to them for decades. There were a lot of neocons, a lot of like rhinos early on in the first Trump administration who also felt that way. The difference is their party, the Republican Party, shaped up and started threatening them and forcing them into line, which is, from a political perspective, exactly what they should have done. People either got forced out or they were forced to shape up. And now they don't have that problem. Now the entire Republican Party is a lockstep, unified, fascist political bloc, which is bad for us. But politically, it was very smart of them. Democrats are 8 years late to this. 8 years late. They still haven't made the switch. A lot of their members still think because Biden won, because Biden won, man. Because Biden won in 2020. They thought Trump was an anomaly. They thought, oh, thank God, I thought things were going to be different. But now they're not going to be. The long nightmare is over.
Change. And the work that we're doing here is not just to help elect better people in a lot of these cases challenging incumbent Democrats. It's also to help younger people that are running in open blue seats and in competitive races as well. We're not challenging people that are running in frontline districts that could risk us potentially losing the House. But ultimately, we know that our party has to do a much better job of showing our base that we are here to fight for them. And we're seeing the results of that. People like AOC, Chris Murphy, Senator Van Hollen, and others around the country are fighters that are on the front lines out there showing people what we're doing to stand up and fight back against Donald Trump's agenda, are raising incredible amounts of money. And that is going to be super important going forward to help candidates around the country, especially in our frontline districts as well, because people want to see that we're fighting for them. And far too many of our young people feel like we've given up on them. They feel like we're not here fighting for them. And they feel like the American dream is
I want AOC to put on a pair of raw selfish denim.
To revive it.
What's your criteria? What districts would you pick to focus on, and what districts would you not? I'll give you a good example. Would you support, for example, AOC, who you just mentioned, in a primary against Chuck Schumer for Senate?
Well, this cycle, we're focused on House seats in particular. Those are the types of seats that we are focused on because we want to be as effective as possible in helping to give these young people a chance. A lot of the candidates we're working with are under the age of 35. So as you can imagine, working with Senate candidates that becomes a little more difficult. But really what we're looking at here is not just, oh, is this an older person? Like there are older people that are very effective in our party too. People like Nancy Pelosi and Jan Schakowsky and others.
Answer the specific question. The specific question is a trap. Obviously, Schumer is extremely unpopular and also a collaborationist and a fascist piece of shit, and he will rot in hell after he dies. But he is also the Senate minority leader. So what he's trying to do is get Hogg to essentially say that he stands against the very wealthy and powerful Senate minority leader. It's a trap. This interviewer is not being honest, at least not sympathetic to the cause.
Others, I would argue, been some of our most
Is Chuck Schumer a name that you'd put in that bid?
See,
as someone who's
see this shit? He's not actually talking about the underlying argument or the point. He's essentially saying, oh, so as a logical extrapolation of your argument, you're saying that you're making an enemy of this very powerful insider Democrat? You're saying you're making an enemy of him? You want to go up against Chuck Schumer, the Wall Street Senate Democrat? You wanna? Oh, you wanna? That's what he's doing. Fuck this piece of shit.
Effective and older in the party?
You know, there's certainly disagreements in our party right now of certain tactics.
That doesn't sound like a yes.
See, this is like this guy is an agent of the enemy. This guy is as much our enemy as anybody on Fox News.
For sure. But I will say we're in a really difficult position right now. We're in the minority in our party, and there's disagreements over how to handle that. Certainly, I have my disagreements with the leader at times, but ultimately, we have to realize that we're all on the same side here of moving our party forward and getting back into the majority. And sometimes that's going to include having disagreements with what our leadership is doing. But ultimately, that's part of what makes our party great. We're not a cult. We allow disagreement, and we're not led by a strong man like Donald Trump, who says, if you don't agree with me, there is no place for you here in the party. And certainly, there are people who don't agree with me in doing these tactics either. But ultimately, I know we're all on the same side here of getting back to winning, and everybody wants to see a party that fights for them.
David, you mentioned there are some folks who don't agree with you here. I mean, Ken Martin, chair of the DNC, has said that it's not the party's position to take sides in a primary. I want to put on your screen something that Sheldon Whitehouse said on ABC's This Week just last month. You see it there. We are in a fight for our democracy. He goes on to say you can't fight in the dugout when you're trying to score runs on the field. So I guess my question is, what do you say to those who say you're hurting the Democratic Party here by what you're doing?
See, like this interviewer is obviously not on his side. The argument is at its face value ridiculous. We're talking about rooting out the ineffective members of Congress. Like these people are doing anything to begin with. Their existence in the party is the reason we lost to Trump.
What I would say to them is look at the results of the people that are out there fighting right now. The people that are on the front lines that are leading.
Real affirmation of the fact, though, that the real enemy to these people is the left, not Republicans. They will be ineffective against Republicans, but when there's any threat from like left populists taking over safe seats in the party, that's when they freak out, plant their feet, and act like this is the existential threat to the party. That's when they start redoing elections to unseat people in the vice chair seat.
The charge like AOC, Bernie Sanders, people like Chris Murphy and others, they are raising incredible amounts of money that is going to be essential because